Ship your grain across the sea. After many days, you may receive a return. Invest in 7 ventures, yes, in 8. You do not know what disaster may come upon the land. If clouds are full of water, they pour rain on the earth. Whether a tree falls to the south or to the north, in the place where it falls, there it will lie. Whoever watches the wind will not plant. Whoever looks at the clouds will not reap. As you do not know the path of the wind or how the body is formed in a mother's womb, so you cannot understand the work of God, the maker of all things. Sow your seed in the morning, and at evening let your hands not be idle, for you do not know which will succeed, whether this or that, or whether both will do equally well. That was part of Ecclesiastes 11, which again is a book in the Bible written by the wisest man to have ever lived, Solomon. And here he is talking about something that is near and dear to my heart, given my personality. It's amazing how every single time I come to the Bible, honestly, with questions, um, the Bible seems to really fit. The Bible seems to always really fit exactly where I am at in this passage this morning, verses 1 through 6 of Ecclesiastes 11, really suits me today and what I'm working on. And it's this idea of investing in many ventures. The passage talks about invest in 7 or 8, as you do not know what might happen in the land. And I'm not sure it's like the 7 or 8 that is the point. To me, it seems like, first of all, there is a point that we should be investing as entrepreneurs, as business owners, certainly as individuals, but these morning sessions are meant specifically for business owners as I'm looking to come to the Bible to use it as scaffolding for how I am conducting myself as a business owner and as an entrepreneur. And so when the passage says invest in 7 ventures, yes, 8, you do not know what disaster may come upon the land. It's this idea that we should be diversifying because we don't know. What's interesting about the passage, however, is I think there's like 3 big kind of groups that people fit into. There are those people that act, there are those people that watch, and there are those people that think. Um, And I think I have been guilty of all of these things at different times. And I think right now, probably the one I'm most guilty of is just thinking. I think a lot about what I should do. Certainly watch what other people are doing. And in the age that we live in with YouTube and all the social media channels, it's easy to watch what other people are doing. But then it takes a lot to act. When I was younger, I acted out of desperation because I had no choice. I couldn't stand still. I had no money, had no resources, had a young family. The day just comes upon you every day. You got to get going. So you have to act. And I'm curious, as I move through acting, watching, thinking back and forth, depending on the stage of life that I'm in, I'm challenged to make sure that um, I'm reminded to act. It's not good enough just to watch and to think, that I do have to get moving. I got to get doing something with what I have. And even the idea of retirement, I think, is maybe a boomer generation idea. I don't think that certainly my generation, Generation X, or generations underneath me even understand what the word retire means. I think that was appropriate for a time and place in history, and I don't think it is anymore. Cost of living, society, culture, all that kind of stuff. It does say there's a couple things here. So first of all, some people act, some people watch, some people think, and it's important to not get stuck in the watch and think part because you do have to act, and hopefully you're acting by getting involved in many different adventures. You got to sow your seed in the morning, but do not have idle hands in the evening. So it seems to me that in the during your day, you should be acting, and then in the evenings, so that you don't have idle hands, you should be watching and learning to see what maybe other people are doing, or how by the time the next morning comes around, you can do an even better job. Um, the key continues to be, though, no matter which way I come to the Bible, you don't know the outcomes. We don't know the outcomes. Time is the mechanism that God uses to effect his will. And we can shortcut time by doing our own thing our own way. We can prolong or delay time by procrastinating and not doing anything. And walking in relationship with God, I think, helps us to understand that we're going to act, but we're going to do it on a measured basis using the wisdom, knowledge that he's given us. But at the end of the day, we still don't know the outcomes. We can't control outcomes. We think we can, but we actually cannot. And so, what I'm thinking about here today, as I think about kind of the theme of what today is, which is this idea of what resources am I holding back out of fear instead of deploying wisely. That was sort of the theme that I came into this with. And the question is, why don't I invest in more ventures? The first answers that came to mind for me was fear, comfort, maybe energy. I'm at a stage and age of life where I just simply do not have the same level of energy that I had before. Uh, Contrast that with the fact that I think I lived for a decade or more at the end of my cortisol levels, which isn't helpful either. But that's probably why I don't invest in more ventures. Then it causes me to take inventory of what have I invested in. So I have an active business. Our family has an active business that's being run by managers, and I'm in the middle of mentoring and teaching and trying to help shape what that looks like because I have actively run the business for the last 6 years. I have my home that we live in. Arguably, maybe the bank owns it. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but we own a home, we own a building. I have a stock portfolio, and I've recently, in the last couple of years, been working on a startup, pivoted many different times. So I have invested in many ventures. So that earlier idea of why I don't invest in more, maybe that's not being totally true. I would say I don't invest in more out of fear, comfort, energy. But the truth is, I think I have invested in a few things, and the idea is that I get the opportunity to invest in more every day. And that doesn't mean using money necessarily. I think it means using our lives. How do I invest my lives into more? So, added to that list, I would say I've invested in being a father, I've invested in being a husband. Some of the investments I should make are into more friends and friendships. I think that is an investment worth making as well, not because um, I need friendship. I mean, I do, but other people need friendship. We need each other. That's what friends are. And certainly as a business owner, you need to get around other business owners where you both just understand that you come into the conversation with lots of things that you probably can't specifically articulate, but just the sense and the weight that comes from managing customers and vendors and employees and their futures and the economy and leverage if you've put leverage in your business. There's just a bunch of stuff you come into these friendships with. And I think business owners need friendships. So that's something I can probably invest in a lot. I do think when I said that some people act, some people watch, and some people think, there was a season in my life between 2001 and 2007 where I had a mortgage brokerage license. I was primarily involved in syndicating commercial short term mortgages. Then I invested in learning how to build a residential mortgage business. That then led into a marketing business where we were creating and distributing monthly community newsletters at the time. For all you young people listening, those were physical things that you'd get in your mailbox. And we did it to advertise our business as well as other businesses. We had a community outreach program where people could make anonymous requests on a website for help. Other people could respond to those help requests and drop the items off at a local church. We were also invested in taking what I thought at the time were profits, turns out they weren't, into a foundation. And so we were involved in some not for charity stuff. The point is that sometimes too much can be done. There can be too much acting. And I have this saying that, doing 10 things at 10% doesn't equal 100, it equals 10%. And if we want to create stable, durable businesses as business owners, while there is a time to watch and a time to think, there's also a time to act, but we can also go too far and try to do too many things and then spread ourselves thin. And because we carry the responsibility for the results in our business, that we impact the stability and durability that our businesses have if we find that we're spread too thin, we're not delegating properly, we're not utilizing the resources that God's put into our life and or the people. One of the questions that I'd asked myself was, if I wasn't afraid or comfortable, what would I invest in? And it seems like I would invest in people to solve a problem out in the world to remove some friction, because I think as business owners, that's what we're called to do. However, it requires getting out of my comfort zone. It requires having energy to lead a brand new team of people. and maybe I'm just not there yet, but I am working on it. I think that investing by definition, so we see here, invest in 7 ventures, yes, in 8, you do not know what disaster may come upon the land. This idea of investing in something where I don't know the outcome. I think I know the outcome, but the truth is I don't know the outcome. And so whether I'm investing in a startup and I don't know whether the business is going to be able to get customers and revenue, or I have an existing business that I've turned around or I have improved, I still don't know if we're going to be able to grow it and make the entire business a worthwhile exercise. So I think stewarding resources is the objective, acting is the objective, but to not be cavalier in thinking that I know it all and have all the answers, because the truth is I don't. I don't know the outcomes that God has in mind for what he's using my life for. So there's an air of humility, there's an air of peace and joy that come from that. And this year, I'm using the Bible to try and help me build some scaffolding for myself as a business owner so that I can make sure that I am focused on the right things. There's a lot of business advice out there, probably too much, lots of podcasts, videos, YouTubes, all that sort of thing. And that's all really, really great. What I'm discovering is all of those ideas, whether they are spoken by Christians or not, come from a Christian belief system where ultimately everything comes down to serving others and subduing things in this world, removing friction out of people's lives, developing products and services that make people's lives easier. Easier simply means less friction so that people can be free, have freedom to do more of the things that God has called them to do. And that we're not meant as business owners to subdue people. We're meant to serve people by building businesses that are stable and are durable and can provide people with the platform and foundation that they need to go and live lives that support themselves, their families, and their communities.